Good afternoon. Our story for today is entitled Withered Hand Made Whole. Things had gone hard for the poor old man ever since he first felt the pain in his hand. He could remember the day it began. Then, as weeks and months had passed, it had gone worse and worse until his finger joints were all stiff and he couldn't bend his wrist. Later, his hand had gradually shriveled up until he couldn't use it at all. That meant he couldn't work, so he had lost his job and his income and had to beg for food. He had asked the doctors to help him, but they didn't know how to treat a withered hand. They had just told him he would have to put up with it for the rest of his life. It was all very sad and discouraging. Then one Sabbath, he went into the synagogue in Capernaum. As he took his seat, he hid his poor hand under his robe, where no one could see it. He didn't like people staring at it out of curiosity. Then he prayed the prayer he had prayed so many times before. Dear God, help me. So this story shows Jesus, our healer, the healer of the sick. Suddenly, he became aware that for some reason or other, he had become the center of interest in the synagogue. Everybody was staring at him. He was frightened, wondering what he could have done. Surely all these people were not just looking to see his withered hand. No, it couldn't be that, for he noticed that their heads kept turning from him to another man, then took back to him. The other man was the one they called the carpenter of Nazareth. Now the carpenter himself was looking at him, and he felt the warmth of friendship and sympathy in his eyes. Arise, stand forth in the midst, said the carpenter in a kindly voice. What? Me? Yes, you. Wondering what it could all mean, the poor old man, still keeping his withered hand covered, did as he was told. Now everybody was looking at him. Stretch forth your hand, said the gentle carpenter. My poor hand? Yes, your poor hand. Slowly, he pulled it out from beneath his robe. Suddenly, his eyes opened wide in astonishment. Then they filled with tears, for his hand wasn't shriveled anymore. It was just like the other hand. He could have moved his fingers, he could bend his wrist, he could touch his face. It was too good to be true. But it was true. Thank you, Master, I can hear him saying. But the other voices were not thankful. He couldn't have done it, grumbled one. The idea of doing such a thing on the holy Sabbath, said another. It's shocking, shouted a third. The man a lawbreaker and should be arrested. It is lawful to do good on the Sabbath days or to do evil, Jesus asked. To save life or to kill? No one answered him. As for the old man, he didn't understand what they were all arguing about. He just kept looking at his hand and moving it to and fro. He couldn't get over it. It was the best thing that ever happened to him on the Sabbath. In church, too, his hand had been healed. Now he could work again. Thank God. Oh wonderful Jesus. Thank you for listening to our story. God bless.